It's Dr. Melissa McCreery from TooMuchOnHerPlate.com, and today I want to talk with you about nourishment and what might be missing from your plan if you're somebody who is trying to take control of overeating or emotional eating. Let's start by talking about what nourishment really means. I went to the dictionary and I pulled the definitions. So nourish means to sustain with food or nutriment, to supplement what is necessary for life, health, and growth, to cherish, foster, strengthen, build up. So to sustain or to supplement what is necessary for life, health, and growth, to cherish, foster, strengthen, and build up. Sounds really good, right? Now I want you to think about the last episode or experience that you had with overeating or emotional eating. Did you nourish yourself? Your last episode with overeating or emotional eating, did you sustain yourself, supplement what's necessary for life, health, and growth? Were you cherishing, fostering, strengthening, or building up? I didn't think so. So much of the time we tell ourselves this story about overeating. We turn to overeating or emotional eating because we're trying to fulfill a need. We're trying to nourish ourselves. But the nourishment that we need in those moments, it doesn't come from anything we put in our stomach. If you're a smart, busy woman, what you are usually craving or yearning for when you turn to food is a kind of nourishment that has more to do with your soul or your heart or your spirit than it has to do with your stomach. If you want to break free from patterns with overeating or behaviors with emotional eating, it's really key to start thinking about nourishing, to think about this question of what are you doing to feed your spirit, your heart, your soul, your mind. What are the things that you're really craving that aren't food? That's a power question. When you find yourself wandering into the kitchen or going for the junk food and you know you're not really hungry, asking yourself that question, what am I really hungry for? And what really needs to be nourished here? That's a power move. This year at TooMuchOnHerPlate.com, I am specifically focusing on building habits that replace the habits that you don't want to have with food anymore. And we're doing that through a process that I call layering. So every month we're focusing on one sector of the overeating and emotional eating puzzle. When you join the Emotional Eating Toolbox Series, you get to spend 1 week specifically focusing on one set of habits. And then the next month, we come back to the topic from a different angle with new habits that you can layer on that will reinforce what you've already put in place and will remind you of what you were doing last month. In the Emotional Eating Toolbox Series this month, we're taking on nourishment, specifically how to feel fulfilled and nourished without turning to food. Because when you know how to do that, when you have a toolbox full of strategies for taking on the particular situations that can trigger overeating and emotional eating, you get your power back from food. Whether or not you decide to join us in the specific 7 days of step-by-step training, there is a checklist that I want to share with you that you can start to follow to tackle this topic of nourishment, because it's really important. So here are the items we're going to be covering in the 7-day challenge. If you decide to join us, we're going to unpack these step by step. If not, here are the topics that I want you to tackle this month. Number 1. What are you going to do instead when you feel triggered to overeat? When you're feeling in need of that nourishment and your brain tells you the easiest thing to do is to just go get a snack. What are you going to do instead? What are the strategies you want to put in your toolbox? Number 2, how will you nourish yourself? How will you take care of yourself when you just feel too tired to do anything else but reach for a snack? Because that has become the easy answer. This is a question you want to be able to answer because it is the place that so many busy women get pulled off track. What are you going to do when you're just too tired to do anything else? The third thing that we're covering in the toolbox this month is how to nourish yourself, how to end up feeling fulfilled and taken care of when you know you deserve a treat. You probably have a pattern in place, especially if you're busy, of reaching for something to eat in those moments. So again, how do you nourish yourself? How do you feel fulfilled so that food loses the power in that situation? In day 4 of the series and in day 4 of the challenge, if you decide to do this independently, I want you to tackle the topic of how to feel nourished and fulfilled when food is your joy. When it feels like you deserve some happiness, some joy, something special at the end of the day, I want you to start thinking about where your nourishment is going to come from. Day 5 of the challenge can be a tricky one, but it's really important, and I want you to think about this. How do you nourish yourself? How do you make sure that you feel taken care of when you have events or feelings in your life that you can't control, that you can't fix, and that you can't make better? What can you do so that you'll feel fulfilled and nourished without turning to food? And the final challenge I have for you, and the final topic that we're going to cover in this Toolbox series, is how to nourish yourself, how to feel fulfilled and fed when you're in that place where you have to shift gears. You're starting something new. You've just ended something. You're in that awkward spot. And again, you may traditionally have had the habit of reaching for something to eat. The topic of nourishment is so important, and having a clear set of strategies of how to nourish and take care of yourself without turning to food, that is the secret weapon that so many women use to break old cycles and patterns with overeating and emotional eating. Take a look at the topics I outlined today. Start looking at ways that you can switch from heading to the kitchen to heading in another direction in each of these areas, and you can change the power dynamic. Give yourself permission to play around with this. Focus on nourishment this week. I'll see you soon.